The Broad Street Bullcast is brought to you by Central Court Custom. Central Court Custom features luxury cornhole sets, classic yard games, and other carpentry projects. You can check them out, the Winona Farmers Market, on Thursdays from 4 to 7, and Surf City LBI on Mondays from 8 until noon. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram at Central Court Custom. Everybody, this is Sam Carchidi from Philly Hockey Now, and welcome to our Broad Street Bullcast. This is episode 4, and we never are short of things to talk about when it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers. It's either a controversy or a deal brewing or something else. And of course, right now we have the draft coming up on Thursday and Friday in Montreal. And from my perspective, the Flyers have not hit a home run in the draft since 2011. When they drafted Sean Couturier, number 7 overall. They've come close. They've had some good picks at number 1. Ivan Fedotov comes to mind, Travis Sanheim, Joel Farabee. They were all first-round picks. And to me, they were probably stand-up doubles, if you will. But they have not hit a home run. Those players could be home runs as they develop. But they really need to hit a home run because of the situation they're in. They really need to hit a home run in the draft. And we're going to touch on the draft in a little bit. We're also going to touch on the controversial situation involving the Flyers and their very promising goalie, Ivan Fedotov. Fedetov is 25 years old, and by now you probably know he was going to compete for the number 2 job, and I think he was the favorite to win the backup goalie job behind Carter Hart. He's going to battle, was expected to battle with Felix Sandstrom, but all of that changed over the past few days. Fedetov was first detained in Russia, and he was accused of being a draft dodger. And then he was sent to the Russian Navy in the Arctic, and it appears he's going to have to serve there. Unfortunately, Putin right now appears to be using him as a political pawn in this, trying to send a message to the West. And poor Ivan Fedotov is in the middle of this. Very, very promising goalie. He's 25 years old, 6'7", 205 pounds. He starred in the Olympics last year, led Russia to a silver medal. He starred in the KHL in Russia also last year, and then he led his team to the title in Russia's KHL, and his numbers were off the charts. He is ready for the NHL by all accounts. But that is being put on hold right now. And, you really have to feel for Fedotov, and you have to feel for the Flyers, because this leaves a big hole. I'm not so sure right now that Sandstrom is ready to be the number 2 goalie. We'll see. We'll find out. I think it would have been great if you had a competition with Fedotov. It would have pushed both players. And who knows, maybe one of them could also push Carter Hart, and Hart needs some pushing. He's been up and down over the last 2 years. So, but it looks right now like Sandstrom is the lead guy, unless the Flyers make a deal. When I say the lead guy, I mean the lead guy for the number 2 spot. Unless the Flyers make a deal for a veteran goalie to compete for the number 2 spot. And we're going to get into that a little bit later in the show. But we'll switch now back to the draft. I talked to Brock Otten. He's the scouting director for McKean's Hockey. McKean's does a tremendous job on the draft. Check them out if you get a chance. And he outlined the players might pick at number 5 overall. And I want you to check out Philly Hockey Now. I did a story the other day on the top defensemen that they're considering. And I also did a story on the top forwards that they are considering at number 5. Again, pivotal pick for the Philadelphia Flyers. And, after talking to Brock, I must say that I feel a lot better about Cutter Gauthier. And he calls him the 3rd best center in the draft. He played mostly left wing for the U.S. development team this year, but he shifted over to center late in the season, and it looks now like he can play center in the NHL. That's what most scouts are saying. And the Flyers need a center of his size. He's 6'2", 6'2 and a half. 200 pounds, he's got good speed, he's got a great shot, two-way player, and he will help this team probably within 2 years. He's headed to Boston College, but as I said, after talking to Brock Otten from McKean's Hockey, I felt a lot better just from his description. He's watched hours and hours of film of him, and he compares him to Jeff Carter, and that kind of caught my eye. He said he's actually a little more physical than Jeff Carter. Carter's got the better shot, and he said that's the high end. He could become a Jeff Carter, but just to compare him to somebody like Carter and saying he's got a lot of his same tendencies is a compliment. I mean, Carter has played 17 years, a lot of them with the Flyers. He's now with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has over 400 goals, 418 to be exact. So if Gauthier can become close to a Jeff Carter, the Flyers will have a very good player. I'm on record as saying I think they will pick Gauthier at number 5 unless they trade up or down. To me, the best case scenario would be if they traded down and were able to pick Matt Seville and pick up a second round pick. We'll see if that happens. The Flyers general manager, Chuck Fletcher, is actively, trying to get a second round pick, and he's actively talking about dealing number 5 and maybe going down five spots or so, and we'll see how that plays out. But look for my mock draft. My mock draft will be Wednesday on Philly Hockey Now, and let me just mention a couple of the guys that the Flyers are considering. Cutter Gauthier, his draft position, according to the odds makers, the over-under for his draft position is 5.5. I think the Flyers take him at 5. Matt Savoy over-under is 8.5. Another player who's been mentioned is Connor Geekie. He's 12.5. Now, I'm not a betting person, not giving the advice, but I go under for all three guys for what that's worth. Some other news. The Flyers mentioned today, or announced today, their preseason schedule. They will have 6 games, 3 of them at the Wells Fargo Center. That will start against the Boston Bruins on Saturday, the 24th of September. You can check out my story on the preseason exhibition schedule on Philly Hockey Now. And we have a lot of great questions coming up on our fans' feedback to our mailbag. That's coming up. We'll be back after a short break. We'll go to that mailbag portion. And we appreciate watching. And hang in there for a short break. The Broad Street Bullcast is brought to you by Central Court Custom. Central Court Custom features luxury cornhole sets and other carpentry projects. Flyers broadcaster Tim Saunders is one of many delighted customers. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram at Central Court Custom. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm Sam Carchidi from Philly Hockey Now. We're going to jump right into our mailbag. A lot of great questions from Flyers fans on Twitter again today. Can't thank you enough. I want to thank everybody, even the ones we didn't use. We really appreciate the feedback. Angelo Masso asked, with the number 5 pick being off the table, do you think there's still a chance the Flyers can make an offer to get Alex DeBrincat from the Chicago Blackhawks? Great question, Angelo. I don't know. Unless the Blackhawks would take a package that includes more prospects. Let's just say the Flyers trade Konechny and Frost and Igor Zamula. But I doubt that would get it done. I'm really not sure. DeBrincat is a 40-goal scorer, and the Blackhawks are trying to save some money off the cap, and who isn't? Elliot Friedman, the great NHL insider, says that the Flyers do not want to give up that number 5 pick, and that has kind of stalled the trade talks with the Flyers and Blackhawks. But maybe if you're Chicago, maybe if Chicago throws in a second-round pick, maybe the Flyers decide to part with the first-round pick, and maybe they replace somebody less talented player than Zamula. I'm not sure if they go for that, but that's just something to consider. I think the Flyers and Blackhawks will be talking, right up to the draft. So again, if the Flyers do have to part with number 5, I think they want to get something back, especially a second-round pick, because as you know, they do not have a second-round pick this year. I was traded in the swap with Shane Gostisbehere at Arizona last year. We'll jump to Scott Caston. He asked, "What's your ideal off season to fill holes? Assuming the cap is clean and clear, and you're going to aggressively retool." I think, Scott, the biggest need, I've said this all along, is the Flyers have to get a guy who is an offensive threat. They really don't have that player, and they haven't had that player in a long time. They need somebody that's a genuine 35 to 40 goal scorer, whether it's a DeBrincat, whether it's a Johnny Goudreau. Johnny Goudreau is going to have his golf tournament coming up this summer, and I'm hoping to talk to him. It's in South Jersey, and I'm hoping to talk to Johnny about that. I know, he is negotiating right now. Calgary apparently has offered $9.5 million a year for 8 years. The Flyers would only be able to offer him 7 years. And does he take a hometown discount, maybe go to 9? Again, so far he hasn't accepted that offer from Calgary. So if you read between the lines, Goudreau is at least considering coming to the Flyers. Whether it will happen, I don't know. But to me, they must get a genuine sniper. They do not have that, have not had one in a while. They also need to get a veteran third pairing defender. They had Justin Braun last year. He's a free agent. Maybe they try to get him back. Maybe a Klingberg. And possibly get a goalie. I think they're going to need a veteran goalie now. I wouldn't have said that before. I was more than content when you had Fedetov and Sandstrom going for number 2. As I said before, I think they're going to push each other. But that has changed in this past week because Fedetov, it looks highly unlikely that you'll see him play for the Flyers this year. And who knows if he'll ever play for the Flyers, unfortunately. And somebody else has asked a question, and we're going to get to that in a second about some specifics about Fedetov and maybe what the Flyers can do. So hang on for that one. Flyers guy asked, the coaches haven't gotten consistent efforts out of this group. Do you think John Tortorella is the guy who can push this team through the playoff wall? I think so. I'd say a cautious yes if they add players. Just like I said before, I don't think this team right now is a playoff team. They're a borderline playoff team because there's a lot of questions right now. Is Ryan Ellis going to be 100%? Is Ryan Ellis going to miss the first part of the season? How will Sean Couturier be coming back from his surgery? There's some unknowns. How will Joel Farabee be coming back from his neck surgery? Will he miss the first month? Will he miss a couple weeks? Will he be 100%? There's a lot of unknowns right now. And much like, when a new coach comes in, he gets your attention right away. I think Tortorella will get the Flyers' attention right away, just like Alain Vigneault did. And, of course, the Flyers had a very good season under Vigneault in his first year. They slipped in year 2 and 3, and the rest. But, again, I had high expectations for Fedetov, so I really thought he was going to be the number 2 guy and push Carter hard. So we've had some bad news with the Flyers so far. The Ryan Ellis situation has not been cleared up yet. It's still kind of vague. We've had the neck injury and the neck surgery for Joel Farabee, and of course we had the Fedetov bombshell last week. So, right now the Flyers are hoping something happens at the draft, including bolstering the farm system at the draft and possibly making a deal or two. So we'll know more after this Thursday and Friday about the Flyers' future. But make no mistake, this is a crucial few days for the Flyers coming up ahead. Daniel Myers asked, with the Russian goalie seemingly out of the mix, what free agents do you think the Flyers may be signing? Interesting question, Daniel. And I was very high on Casey DeSmith with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Unfortunately, he just signed. He was to be an unrestricted free agent. He did a very good job last year. He's 30 years old. I thought you might be able to get him for maybe 1.5, 1.4 million in there. He just signed with Pittsburgh and Ron Hextall for 1.8. But he had a .914 save percentage last year. Was a solid guy. But he's now off the board. Martin Jones is there. They could re-sign him. Braden Holtby is there. And let's keep an eye on Jack Campbell. I hear Toronto will not be re-signing him. He had a 264 goals against average, a solid 914 save percentage. He's a UFA, and he could also be in the mix. Again, the Flyers may roll the dice and say Felix Sandstrom is their guy, but I'm not so sure Chuck Fletcher feels real confident in having the number 2 spot go to him. We'll see how it plays out. It will be decided in training camp, but, unfortunately, you have to find out. You have to make a decision before training camp on whether you think he's the guy or not. I kind of think that they'll add a veteran goalie now with Fedetov seemingly out of the picture. And Ross B. asked, when are we going to start focusing on building young talent and not spending big bucks on younger guys? Ross, I'm all with you. To me, it should be a total rebuild. And I've said this in the past. I mean, I think the Flyer fans are ready for a total rebuild, and I don't think that means that you're accepting losing, and I don't think that means it's not going to be a fun season. If you rebuild, these young guys will take positive steps, whether it's an Owen Tippett or a Wade Allison or a Morgan Frost or somebody they acquire in a trade possibly this week. I do, I break it all the way down, and I do a total rebuild, but I do bring a veteran scorer in here, and that may sound like a paradox, but I don't think it is. I think you need a veteran guy to kind of lead this rebuild, and a veteran guy that's going to show the way. So I think it's still going to be a fun season with a rebuild, but I'm all with you. I would rather go with the young kids and maybe take some more lumps along the way, but can it be worse than last year? I don't think so. But that concludes our episode 4 of the Broad Street Bullcast. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. Thanks to my son, does a great job producing this, and he's raising his arms like Rocky in the background. He's headed to Peru, so going to miss him for a few days. And again, the big news coming up is the draft. Make sure you watch it. Thursday's on ESPN. Friday is on ESPN Plus. It's also on the NHL Network. And I think the Flyers are going to be a big player. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to be a big player in the draft. Not only at the draft, but in the trade market, and hopefully so. As the late, great Gene Hart says, good night, good hockey, and thanks for watching.